Well, we've got 2 days of testing or shakedowns under our belt now, and what we've learned is that Red Bull should really be thanking Christian Horner. Let's get into the podcast.
Welcome to the Blatantly Biased Racing Podcast. Now here's a bald guy and some Indian.
Hey, how are you,
I'm amazing. I'm amazing right now, and I really want to start with the first thing that you just touched on. Let's talk about Christian Horner and how he's the reason behind such a brilliant day that Red Bull had on Monday. Not much today.
Yeah.
It's too much rain today.
Yeah,
cool.
Well,
Please explain yourself, Jason. Why do you think Christian Horner is responsible for the mind-blowing debut of Red Bull powertrains?
I mean, look, jokes aside, like, obviously they seem pretty happy behind the scenes with
Where's
performance.
the joke? Wait. No. Where's the joke? Jokes
joke?
aside, we are talking serious stuff here. There's no
I get
joke.
you. Sorry. Yeah, there are no jokes here.
Exactly.
Look, Christian Horner did put all of the foundation in place for that engine. From what I heard as well, he actually physically built the first V6 himself and planned out the first hybrid system. So
Completely believable.
And then Jos Verstappen was in charge of reliability, so we'll see how that goes over the season. But no, look, they had an amazing first day, a lot of laps run. We don't know like how much it was in anger, but they did seem to be pushing it. And I always thought, and I guess this is probably something we're going to see over the season, which is that like Christian Horner would have pushed for performance first, reliability second, because that's always been his main talking point. And the compression ratio trick being picked up by Red Bull did concern me a little bit. That yeah, sure, that seems like a performance first thing to think of, but I have a lot more faith in Mercedes to make that reliable than a brand new engine supplier, essentially. But I think the amount of laps they did day one is a good sign. We don't know like how much they were pushing. We don't even know what fuel they were running. So let's see. But I think it's a really good sign. And I think, look, the engine project was Christian Horner's baby. Obviously, from this point on now, it's, not really under him. But what was set into place was set into place. So if they turn up with a really, really good car and engine, they've got essentially Christian Horner and Pierre Vacher to thank, and then I'll want to see how the team deals with that over the rest of the season, because it's going to be interesting from that point on. Then
Yeah.
So
Okay. Let's dig a bit deeper into this, because what was your expectation from the Red Bull engine as such when we're talking about its first run or so? Because I think that's
honestly,
the most important thing.
My expectation from not just the fact that they're a new supplier, but like some stuff that I'm hearing out of like factories and things like that, I called it a glass cannon in a recent video, which was like, I always actually thought that the performance would be pretty good, because I just like knowing what Red Bull's culture has been like, what they've been built up as. That has been the thing. Like, you push everything to the limits. I would rather break things pushing to the limits and then figure out how to put them back together afterwards and build them stronger. So I kind of expected the performance to be good. I'm honestly, they've defeated my expectations in just the amount of laps they were able to do day one out of the box without issue by the looks of it. Day two, obviously, seemed to go well until Hadjar put it into the barrier.
It was wet, right?
Raining, and it's a test as well. It's the first day, like it's a shakedown. Sorry, Formula One morons. It's exceeded my expectations so far. But again, this is early days. We don't know how hard they're pushing these engines. This could be just, reliability laps, kind of testing things, building up, like, day one of main testing with real fuel in it, pushing it for first race for qualifying lap, and it explodes. Maybe I won't be as surprised, but we'll see. But I think it's a very good sign so far, considering Audi broke down, for example. So
and Honda hasn't showed up yet. That's also a thing.
Which apparently is a good thing, according to
some people.
the Stroll Weekly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a better name. I was thinking the Stroll Times doesn't really have the ring to it. So I think before we get into how Red Bull did, it's important to have a certain basis or foundation in terms of how we've seen the new whenever there's been a power unit or an engine change in the formula,
Yeah.
how we've seen them perform on the first outing. So the benchmark that we have was 2014, right? That was the first time when we moved from V8 to V6 turbo hybrids. And at that time, I think only 6 or 7 teams were able to set a lap time. That's it. Other than that, a couple of teams didn't even show up. McLaren didn't leave the garage, and that time it was with Mercedes as well. The most number of laps were done by Kimi Raikkonen. He did 31 laps. That's it. That's the maximum number of laps. Mercedes did 11 laps or 12 laps or something. So that was the benchmark that we had. And if you remember, even by the time we reached Australia, which is after 3 significant tests, I don't think there were many teams that many people or many fans, pundits, even teams, they didn't expect Red Bull to even finish the race. That's how bad the situation was with the Renault power unit.
Yeah.
Looking at where we are right now, especially with Red Bull powertrains, it's very, very impressive. In the first go, they've put together a power unit which is at the very least reliable, right? Which is a big thing. So kudos to them, the kind of work they've done. And again, we weren't. You can say we were joking or not, but it's the reality. It's the foundations have been laid by Christian Horner, and he left mid 2025. But I'd say most of the work was done by then. So where it goes from here, again, it's going to be interesting to see. Ben Hodgkinson is good. He talks a big game as well. He has Red Bull is also one of the teams that has exploited the compression ratio loophole. So things might not be as bad as I hoped. Not hoped, but I expected. Because in the pecking order, I had never, even for now, I'd still be realistic. I expected the Red Bull powertrain and Audi to be the bottom 2 power units. And Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, and Honda to be the top 3. But maybe they've cracked the code.
Yeah, well, my expectation, as I explained in that video, is different as well. Like, I think they'll actually show up with a pretty competitive car. My concern is that I've never seen an F1 team have that big of a cultural shift or be led by a steering committee that didn't slowly kill itself internally.
That will happen.
So my question will be like I'm expecting them to show up with a pretty good car from race 1. My wonder will be like, how long before this starts to fall apart? Like, will it be this season? Will it be next season? You know what I mean? Like, but it will fall apart. It's just a question of how long will it take. And I'm going to give it till June. So we'll see.
So essentially, when Max
6 months. Yeah. Because I think the car will be quite good, but I don't think they're going to, like, no matter how good the performance is, I think it's just inevitable there's going to be some reliability issues, more so than, say, a Mercedes, for example. So you've then got 3 Mercedes teams.
Have a better power output than Mercedes either.
I think they'll be close. Like, I actually think they could do a really good job here. And I think all signs indicate they've done a good job on performance. But I think when you're a first-time engine manufacturer and you're pushing to the limit of performance close to Mercedes, who's been doing it for like decades. Mercedes have been doing this. It's not like 2014 was their first engine. So like this has been decades. So when you're doing that on your first time, you're going to have reliability issues. And I think it's going to be a case of, you get to June and, oh, look, it's looking decent, but Max is still 5th in the championship or 4th in the championship and decides, I'm going to go to Mercedes, who are, leading or whatever it is. Like, that panic stations will set in, and we know what boards do in that situation. They start firing people.
Yeah, but to be fair, if Max is 4th or 5th in the championship at that stage, that's a win for Red Bull, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, but a steering committee won't see it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll give it time. I think they will. Again,
they'll give it. They'll give it maybe one more quarter. That's what boards do. So
yeah, but at least, if Max is 4th or 5th in the championship and he's leaving Red Bull, I think Red Bull at that stage with a decent enough power unit and pedigree in terms of the aerodynamic team that they have, it would still be an attractive option.
Sure,
right?
For a lot of drivers. But like, my problem is that it's just like whenever a team is run without kind of that singular person in control, or like like McLaren, like when I talk about boards being in control, I'm saying like every team has a board, right? But the point is like how much is that board in control of like day to day, and how long are they willing to give that team like
Essentially,
time to
you're
breathe?
talking about a single man controlling each and every
like even
parameter,
McLaren,
roughly.
for example, is board run. But Zach Brown, when things went wrong, was given like 2 to 3 to 4 years to turn it around, right? Ferrari is the opposite of that. Ferrari is very much like we want decisions real quick. Like we want everything to change. The moment you're second place instead of first, we're firing the boss. Like that's the kind of reaction that Ferrari have. And this Red Bull steering committee feels much closer to the Ferrari
might.
side of things.
Yeah, but even in that case, right, they would give them at least a few years.
Well, it depends because
I think if Max is fourth or fifth in the championship, what it means is that he will win a few races this season.
Yeah.
Grab a few podiums. Will have moments to remember. If that happens, I think it's still I'd call it a win for the entire project. And I hope they are smart enough to know that. Whether they are or not, I agree with your point. If they have very high aspirations, it's not realistic to have those. But if they have, it's going to be detrimental.
It's momentum that concerns me, because like let's say for example that they show up and like we'll talk about Aston in a bit. For example, Aston haven't done a great job starting off, right? And Aston need to develop. And then say like Mercedes have done a good job, but they're a bit off on aero. McLaren's up there, and it's essentially McLaren, Red Bull, and Mercedes fighting each other for wins every week, right? Let's say we get that scenario.
Wow, if we have
and
that,
then
it's a big season, by the way.
Amazing season if that happens, right? I'll be delighted.
You're not even
but
going
my
to,
point
you're
is,
not even going to mention Ferrari, are you?
no, of course not, because I'm not a moron. So like, if we have that situation at the start of the season and Red Bull is like fighting for wins and Max is in around the title, and then we get to like 6 races in and Max is no longer winning races, right? And then he's like maybe struggling to get podiums. That momentum is a point where that's where like steering committees and boards, that's where it worries me, because when you don't have someone like a Horner who can go, sure, yeah, look, this was always going to be difficult, and he give me a year, give me 2 years or whatever. When you don't have that person in control, they go, oh, well, this looks like it's going in a bad direction. Should we, maybe Mekis isn't the right guy. Let's remove him. Oh, what about Vache? Oh, I'm not sure like if he knows what he's doing, like let's remove him. That's where the problems start to come in. And when a Verstappen goes, I don't have faith in this team and leaves, that board will immediately start making changes. And that's where... That's why I said I think Red Bull will have a good start to the season and a bad end to the season. That's what I'm expecting from this year. But we'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe they'll win a title this year. And if they do, fucking bravo and fair play to Mekias and stuff. Like, it's a great job.
Yeah, if they win a title,
it's
it's sensational.
Yeah,
Again,
incredible.
I
have my
I'd
doubts.
hold my horses when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But
I still think there's a better chance of that than Ferrari winning a title. But these are different conversations.
I mean, even Haas. Just name any team. It's, again, the whole thing with Red Bull is I hope they manage the expectations. I think it all comes down to that. As I said, Max 4th or 5th in the championship, and if he leaves, if he leaves in that case. But if he does leave at that point, Red Bull will be an attractive proposition for George if he's leaving Mercedes or if he's being pushed out, or an Oscar, or maybe a Lando. I don't know, some driver that is some top driver that can actually be slotted in. But if you have a scenario where the power unit blows up every race and Max doesn't even pick up a podium in the entire season, that's the point where no top driver is coming. And if the whole Red Bull outfit, if the project can survive that, if they can just see it through and find an apt replacement for Max, I think they should call it a success. But again, it's a board. So as I said, I mean, there have been far too many times where boards have frustrated me as well. The Alpine thing is one of the most common.
It's just like, for me, it's every team has a board. So people might be going, but every team has a board. My point is, how much day-to-day control and influence does that board have? And when I hear Red Bull's being detailed as a steering committee, that tells me they want to have their finger on the pulse all the time. And I think that's going to go wrong, because essentially that's what Ferrari does, and it doesn't. We've seen how that's gone.
I'll explain what you mean slightly more detail.
More eloquently using your journalistic background. Go for it.
I don't have a journalistic background. I have no journalistic background. So Yeah, funny thing. So yesterday I was once again invited by the channel. They asked me to if they can put journalists. I said no.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
put
yeah.
journalists. Fine. Anyways, so what happens is when you're mentioning Ferrari or to a certain extent Red Bull, the entire project it is being led by John Elkann on one side for Ferrari
Yep.
and Oliver Minchloff for Red Bull, right? On
Yep.
the other hand, you talk about McLaren. The project is led by Zach Brown. He's your the figurehead. That is
Yep.
basically who has the pulse on everything. You talk about Mercedes, they had Toto Wolff. Now look at the backgrounds of these people. So you look at Zach Brown, he has been a racer throughout his life. Toto Wolff, again, he was a finance guy, but again, he got the jump or the backing from Ross Brawn. The team was essentially built by him. But 8 years
Yep.
of managing that thing, that's enough of a pedigree for anyone. So he
Yeah.
is your racing guy. He has the experience. John Elkann and Oliver Minchloff, they know jack about running Formula One teams, and they are essentially heading the Formula One teams, Ferrari and Red Bull. That's what essentially you're talking about, right?
Yeah. 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 So.
Exactly. So the person who is responsible has no fucking idea how to make it work,
Yep.
and
Exactly.
that's a recipe for failure.
And the person who is actually like supposedly in charge, like Amekias, for example, is only in charge as long as things are going well, and that's where the issue is. That's the big
Exactly.
issue for me because, like, you know, it's as well. Like, I don't want to go on about this too much, but it's like the short-sightedness of like I've seen some comments on videos I did in like the last few weeks and like our videos as well, where people are like, "Oh, but Audi win at everything they do, so like watch them show up this year," and I'm like. Sure,
They will
but this
win.
is still Formula One. They're not going to win like season one. Like, you know, like it's going to take time.
Yeah.
This is Formula One. It'll take, and then like someone was like, yeah, Caddy won't be like at the back. They'll be upper midfield. And I'm like, no, they won't. Like, this is Formula One. Like, you know, it's just, I just feel people have this short-sightedness of like, this is a big company. It's easy for them to win. And it's like, well, if it
It's
was
a
easy
lack
for them
of-
to win,
To a certain extent,
Yeah.
it's also they are new fans, and that's why actually I tried to give a baseline.
I don't know.
Of,
Some people are just
there,
weird.
there are a lot of them who. So the
Yeah.
thing I explained earlier regarding the baseline when it comes to how testing went earlier. So I did a
Yeah.
small explainer on Instagram and YouTube. A lot of people commented and they didn't really know this basic fact that things can be this shitty. So why this
Yeah.
is significant, and a lot of people didn't know, and I was surprised by that. But and we have to realize, right? 2014 was 12 years back, and fans almost you can say 50% of the fans they started watching in around the pandemic, so 2020 or so. So they don't
Yeah.
really know what it means to win in Formula One. They are still not
yeah.
entirely sure why Ferrari is not winning or why Red Bull, why they don't rate Red Bull, why they think Ricciardo sucks or Kimi Raikkonen sucks because they've not seen them in prime. So yeah. It's a bit of a you can say a perception that we don't really understand sometimes. Happens with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing, by the way, which pissed me off a lot yesterday, and I think apparently pissed off the people at the race as well. Both John Noble and Ed Straw were quite pissed off at the way the whole thing happened. Your view on the whole private test that F1 has run?
I can kind of understand the thought process behind it. I don't like it, but I can kind of understand the thought process was 2014 obviously was a bit of a shit show, that first test. So there's that, first of all, especially when FOM specifically put so much on the line for these regulations that a lot of us were like, why are you doing so much just to get one new manufacturer in? Like, this is ridiculous. Because that's all they really did. And then, so I kind of get that point. And then also there is like the financial aspect to it too, which is like, I think they're not even like Bahrain technically has paid to be like the location of the first test. So there's that side as well. But it feels like to me, like the simple equation to that is we want to have an extra few days. So why don't we do like an opening Bahrain test, let everyone in on it. And then you can do Barcelona in the middle or something if you fucking want to. But like it feels like a lack of confidence in your sport, like immediately straight away. Like that, because to most fans aren't going, oh, well, I understand they've been paid a lot of money to have this test. Most fans are just going, oh, clearly they have no faith in this sport, like, or in these regulations. That's how it comes off. And then I thought it
They're
was
not wrong.
No, but it
aren't
was also
wrong.
kind of funny as well that the teams essentially have turned around and gone, yeah, we don't care about this. Like the teams, like straight away put out images of their cars, videos of their cars.
No,
Like,
they, they were supposed to.
But more than
they
I was
are
expecting them
limited
to.
Yeah, something like they're limited to 6 images and 1 video or something per day that they can put out.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Some stupid regulation.
I just don't get the reason why you wouldn't just like, let journalists and stuff in. Like I get why you wouldn't want like a live streamed event all day, but like
Broadcast,
let journalists,
essentially, right?
let journalists in. Like at the end of the day, like if Cadillac rolled out and like blew up on the first lap, like that would just be an interesting story for Formula One. Like
It would be it would be bad PR for Cadillac as
for
well.
Cadillac, sure, but it's also their first season. You know what I mean? Like so, it's kind of I don't know. I think it's
as you
just
specifically
it just,
talked about, right? There are people who think Cadillac will do well in the first season, while we know Cadillac is basically going to be Sauber when it had Bottas and Joe in it.
I think they'll do well, but well is just like it's relative.
We have to
You know what I
define
mean?
what
Like,
well is.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well
essentially.
is they will qualify for every race, and I don't think they'll be last in every race. That's
But
there.
they will be last. They will be last.
Not in every race. I think Haas has a potential to really screw itself a few times.
Audi.
And let's not overplay how good Ferrari can do this season.
Yeah, but they have the same power unit and the same ass. Same race side,
and
right?
Ferrari
So-
will still be behind them somehow. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
but like
so,
the thing with this was as well, like this, the other like naive side to this was as well that like if the thinking was more than just like the Bahrain payment, right? Like because the Bahrain payment is just like, right, you can't like live stream it all day on F1 TV. Like that was never going to happen because Bahrain have paid to be the inaugural testing, right?
By
But,
the way,
like,
Bahrain first test is also not. Bahrain has 2 tests, right? So the first test
and the
is
first
also
test
not
is just going to be an hour a day
broadcasted.
of recap, basically.
Yeah,
which is
fucking
I
nonsense.
don't get the point behind that at all, personally. But like for this one, they could have let media in. And I just think it was really short-sighted because you're basically saying, right, we don't want media in case it's a shit show. But my thinking is, this is 2026. If it's a shit show, we're all going to know about it pretty much straight away. Like the teams, like if Mercedes are blowing up halfway down the pit straight, Red Bull is going to be on fucking social media. Like its staff are going to be pinging people like, guess what just happened today? Like if Ferrari are doing really well and Red Bull's blowing up, Ferrari are going to be talking about, like, it's going to leak to the press anyway. So all that's happening is it's just going to make it even worse because now you're just confirming that, oh, it's shit. Like, so by having media on site in the first day, they actually would have been like, this is a great day. The teams are all running brilliantly. It would have been a way better story. And it would have capped the downside as well of like, yeah, they're struggling, but at least the teams would have been able to go talk to the media, be like, actually, we're just having these issues because of X, Y, and Z. It'll be, you know what I mean? So by not having media there, I think they made a really short-sighted decision and assuming that, I don't know, this is 1990 where like things don't leak immediately.
By the way,
I don't get the
even
thinking.
in 1990s, things leaked.
It would have leaked immediately, yeah. But I mean, like, the point is now it's like 3 seconds and we would have all known about it. Like, not waiting for someone to call someone to report something on a press release the next day or, you know, like, we know about it immediately. So it's short-sighted.
Yeah, look, I can understand the initial concept and initial fear because, as I said earlier, the first day of running in 2014, it was bad.
It was
ridiculous.
awful. Yeah.
Exactly. It was a horror show.
I think Franco Colapinto did more laps today than the entire grid in the first day of 2014 or something.
No. He did 60 laps, so the entire grid did more than that because 31 was Kimi, 19 or 20 was Lewis.
No, but I mean in 2014, I think.
Yeah, 2014 first test. I
think there was only like 30 laps done in the first day.
No.
Was it not? No.
No, it's more. So yeah. So it was Kimi Raikkonen 31 laps, Lewis Hamilton 18 laps, Bottas 7, Checo 11, Jean-Eric Vergne 15, Esteban Gutierrez 7, Sebastian Vettel 3 laps, no time set, Marcus Ericsson 1 lap.
So it wasn't that far off. Like, in fairness, there's a couple of drivers like Esteban Ocon who's done more laps on day one than the entire grid in 2014. So yeah,
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
wild.
even George did more laps than that. George did 98
Yeah.
laps. That's more than any of these.
Yeah, so you can get the initial thinking, but I just think it's short-sighted to think this information won't get out.
Exactly. I understand the initial fear. And honestly, I went into the first day of running expecting something similar that we had in 2014. And I was astounded by the number of laps that they've been able to complete. My thing is, and I think they feared the same. They also feared the same thing happening in Bahrain in the first test. I just hope that they pull back the decision that they've had right now. They go back on it and at least broadcast the entire thing in Bahrain.
Yeah.
This thing is fine again. This thing you can just run whichever way. Look, Barcelona in January, it's chilly as hell. So there's not going to be much running anyways. It's going to be useless. So let them do whatever they want to. From Bahrain onwards, the first test, broadcast the whole thing. You've been doing it forever. We've had 2 tests. I think we didn't have 2 tests in 25, but in 24, 23 and so on, we've had 2 tests. And they have been broadcasted completely. So why are you just pulling the curtains now? I don't really see the point. Let's see.
It's just like I said, everything's going to get out anyway. So if it was a bad day, we were all going to know about it regardless. So I think to think that it was going to save anyone embarrassment,
controlling the messaging, right? Too much of it.
Yeah, and like to think that you were going to save any embarrassment and be able to control the narrative is short-sighted. Like it was just everything leaks in Formula One anyway. You know what I mean? Like so, like we seem to know that fucking Lewis Hamilton had signed for Ferrari before Toto did. Like that's how leaky Formula One is. So like, it was always going to get out. You know?
Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay. So Mercedes, by the way, the power unit.
Mercedes overall impressive, right? Like
the car as well, and it's again motorsport. The Spanish side of the motorsport.com publication. Their claim is that everyone is already fearing the kind of performance Mercedes is showing on track. Okay, let's see.
It seems we haven't seen McLaren run yet, so that's going to be the interesting part for me. Like we haven't even seen McLaren's car yet, nothing. So
I mean, we've seen the car, but it's make whatever you want out of the picks. I'm not even going to, because 9 out of 10 times what they actually bring out on track and what they actually use for launch.
I'm going to say we haven't seen the car. I'm just going to flat out say we haven't seen the car. Like I think the thing is, like, if Mercedes are disconfident in the engine and so on, I just still think McLaren are going to have them pipped with the aero. And McLaren basically, like, you know, when Williams and Aston start saying things about like not showing up to testing and so on, you get a bit worried. When McLaren's like, yeah, we're going to show up like 3, 4, 5, you know, the last few days of this because we want to push performance. Because of McLaren's track record the last few years of what they've said and what's happened, I kind of tend to go, fair enough. Yeah, you guys are probably going to show up with a more kind of advanced package. Fine. Because like McLaren literally came out with like, we're going to not show up with a good car at the start of 2024, but by the mid-season we'll have a really good car. We saw what happened. So yeah, you know, like
since 2023, right?
Everything they've said.
The level of confidence is what astounds me, because Toto is out there.
I'm worried about
Toto's.
I was going to say I'm really worried about how confident they are, to be perfectly honest, because
the last time I saw him this confident was at the end of the Netflix documentary in 2021.
Yeah.
Everyone should watch their back.
Yeah, that's what he said. And yeah, everyone did watch their back, and behind them was Mercedes. Exactly. So like, yeah, it worked out.
The thing was, everyone's got a target. Something on those lines. Yeah. He was being this Bond villain in the entire thing, and
they won 7 races.
4 years, right?
Yeah, 7 races in 4 seasons. So, as Lewis said, my team don't make mistakes. So I'm a bit. I honestly am a bit concerned with how overconfident they are. You know, it just. I think that's
both
a bit
disconcerting, and you're like, don't fuck it up now, because if you end up fucking now, it's not going to look good.
I kind of understand like when fans are blatantly overconfident in Mercedes, because they're like, well, look what they did in 2014, and I'm like, sure, but like you could say the same thing about a lot of teams in different eras. Like, you know what I mean? Like in 2004, you weren't going to go, well, Ferrari's going to win the next 14 seasons. You know what I mean? Like, they're just. it doesn't repeat itself in Formula One. Like 2014, you would have expected Red Bull and Renault to show up with a pretty competitive package, and they were useless. You know what I mean? Like 2022, you would have expected Mercedes to show up, and they were, as you said, like super confident, and even like coming out with their bravado and stuff in 2022 with the zero pods and kind of like everyone like, we found something no one else did, and it turns out no one else found it because it was fucking useless. So like, you know, maybe let's
everyone else
calm
found
down
it but
a little
discarded
bit.
it.
Well, no one else actually found it apart from Newey, who went, oh yeah, I didn't really think about that because
Gunther
didn't
Steiner
feel like it was
as
going to
well,
work.
by the way.
Oh, Gunther Steiner found it. Interesting.
If Steiner is saying that this is not good enough and he rejects it. Yeah.
So, like, I think everything I've heard is Mercedes are going to have a pretty strong package, and I think engine-wise, you would expect them to be one of the best, if not the best. Definitely. Like, there's no reason. But the problem is the bullishness of like, guys, you can go on about how great your engine is all you want, but you were beaten by a customer team who is going to continue to have that engine this year. So, like, let's not get too.
Depends, right? How much of a benefit there is to be of being the works team, right?
I don't think it's going to be that huge, personally. I think there will be an advantage, but
it shouldn't be ideally, because there have been a lot of steps taken by the FIA when it comes to that. But again, the inherent packaging and everything, the engine is built keeping the Mercedes car in mind, right? So that will always.
But at the
be
same
there.
time, like McLaren would have gotten like all the dimensions and everything of the engine. So sure, you're restricted to a certain amount, but like if it's just McLaren versus Mercedes, McLaren would have known what the engine dimensions were and so on. So then they're both working with essentially the same information. Maybe Mercedes has a head start with going, this is why we want these dimensions to build this. But there's no reason why McLaren can't also optimize that. And I don't know. I want to see what Mercedes can do with packaging.
I understand what you're saying, right? And just touching on the approach that McLaren is using here, and I like the approach that they have. So Rob Marshall, he specifically talked about how every team, what they're going to do is the conventional method, that is, they'll bring a foundational package first just to test the power unit and everything. And then by the time they reach the third preseason test or the first race in Melbourne, that's when they bring the major upgrade just before the start of the season.
Yeah,
McLaren is going the entirely opposite direction. What they're doing is they're bringing the best possible car that they can for the first test, and then that is the car they'll run in Melbourne. And Melbourne is almost,
and they'll just keep updating.
45 days away. What they are thinking is, and again, it's a bit of a long game, they want to see what every team is bringing and then use those ideas to ultimately understand which approach is the best.
Because you put your best package on display day one and figure out where to go from there, you know?
Exactly. And for the era of cost cap, I think it's a smart way of going about it. The approach seems fine.
You've got Ferrari and like a few other teams bringing quote unquote A specs to day one, and you're like, okay, well that's going to limit you then to your development over the season, because you're not going to be able to bring a C spec, you know? Yeah. But you're not going to be able to bring like a full on C spec. If you show up day one and find out that, oh shit, we've overlooked something really important here, it's like, well, you've already built your B spec. It's too late now to
exactly.
Go and develop,
that's what I'm saying, because there might be a case where different teams come in with different innovative solutions, right? And at that point, you have to adapt and try to see how you can accommodate it in your package. And that is something that you can do when you have the flexibility at the start of the year, not if you've already committed to a B spec car. So the thought process is understandable.
It makes sense.
It might mean that McLaren might start maybe a step behind early in the season, because again, look, in all frankness, if they are bringing their car right now, and this is the car that's going to run 45 days later, it's going to be an underdeveloped version for sure. Then how they upgrade and how those upgrades are ultimately going to help them jump the pecking order, that's going to be interesting. So different approach, but
I think
could work.
The good news for McLaren as well, though, is they do have the best man for the job at finding flaws in the regulations.
But even not even just that, right? I mean, that's understandable. He does that, but
Rob Marshall is Newey, basically, is what we've learned. I mean, Rob Marshall, actually, if you go back, because we've gone back and looked, and actually, like, teams have built up and fallen apart via Rob Marshall, not Newey, which is interesting. So
Yeah. Benetton,
yeah.
Renault,
Yep.
and now
Yep. Red Bull. Also,
exactly.
like Marshall left Red Bull, went to McLaren. Red Bull stopped winning. McLaren start winning.
Yeah.
Coincidence?
Knew he had
I think
nothing to
not.
do with it.
No, it's all Rob Marshall. I think we've all learned
Exactly.
this. Yeah. So
Cool. Ferrari, by the way.
yeah.
Your view, surprising?
I mean, the car didn't blow up, so the engine's good.
Engine is
but what-
ridiculously good, right? 156
Well,
laps
what-
on the first day.
Yes, but I still want to see what it can actually do performance-wise, because I talked about this, I think, in our last podcast, which was everything I had heard from Ferrari was that, like, even in terms of weight, they were, like, skewing towards reliability, like putting those steel heads on instead of aluminium. All this is rumor and, like, you know, we don't confirmations of this, but, like, everything I heard was that they were more worried about reliability, so they focused on that, which then brings me to, well, how fast is it going to be? But then the other thing is, like, Ferrari has historically always been quite good at engines, even if they have to cheat, you know, quite good at engines. So
Yeah.
I'm less concerned about their engines and more concerned about the aero and the number 2 driver slowing them down. So I guess we'll see what happens from there.
My worry was with every power unit, and I think the worry still lies for both Audi and Honda because we haven't seen them run the entire program yet. Unless and until the car is reliable, the power unit is reliable, you cannot start developing it and making it faster, right? You cannot start piling on performance. And if you have a power unit that is at least reliable, that's a strong foundation to have, especially because
Well, that's
in this season,
that's the opposite to what Red Bull would have done, I think, under Horner, which is you would have
course.
piled up to the limit
course,
and
of
then
course.
tried to make it reliable. You know?
Yeah.
Which
of
is
course.
why I'm still a little bit concerned about that engine. Like, it's great in the first day of testing. Let's see it in the first race. You know, like it's
Exactly. But my thing is, unless and until you don't want to end up in a situation where the power unit, you have to detune the power unit to last a race, right? So if they have a power unit that is at least it can last a race, because 156 laps they did a lot of long stints. It shows that it can work. You have that, and then you start. At least for me, on a very foundational level, I didn't want any power unit to be in a scenario where they are 2015 McLaren Honda. Where
just
there's
exploding
no
all the
hope for
time.
multiple years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want that scenario. I want all of them to be within touching distance so that at least things remain competitive. At least for now, it seems Ferrari has done that. They've been very quiet, which is very un-Ferrari like.
Yeah.
So
I think
we'll
I think
see.
the major difference as well, like when you look at like 2014, like I think it's just a completely different situation too, because I think like 2014, it was the first time. I know they had KERS before that, but it was the first time putting a real hybrid system in and like standardizing it and all that stuff. And like they made it hugely complicated with the MGUH as well. Like that made it incredibly complicated. But like the main difference for me now is that like I was expecting them all to be a little bit closer to each other. Like I kept saying last year, I was like, I don't think it's going to be like a night and day difference between the engines. I do think there'll be a difference, but I think like at most it'll be 30 horsepower, which is still a lot, but I think it'll like, that would be the absolute top end of what we're seeing between
I think it'll be
front
more.
and back. I don't know. The reason I just thought that was like, unlike 2014, every single manufacturer of engines that's on the grid now builds hybrids day to day. Like they all understand hybrids, other than Red Bull, who's not a car manufacturer, but they had Ford's help with some of it at least. But like Honda has a massive amount of high performance hybrid engines out in the world. Mercedes obviously do. Even Ferrari has a ton of hybrid engines now in their road cars. Audi obviously is no stranger to, you know what I mean? So like all of these
been in Formula E.
Exactly. So like all of these teams at a fundamental level know how to build a hybrid engine. So it's not like 2014 where like Ferrari and Renault essentially weren't building hybrids outside, where Mercedes had a lot of hybrid knowledge from
Ferrari
other
was,
ventures.
right? La Ferrari had
No,
already
Ferrari
launched.
didn't. I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
I think La Ferrari had already launched.
Maybe you're right. But I think that was the only car. So like you're talking very
that was the
limited.
first that it hit 1000 bhp.
2013 that came out, so they would have been deep into development there. So you're still talking like very late to the game, whereas like Mercedes had a ton of investments in like hybrid technology elsewhere, and you know Renault was French, so that was always going to break. It
It did break.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Talk about glass cannon. There wasn't even a cannon.
Well, it was.
The problem. No, but I mean, it wasn't.
It was a self-imploding cannon, which is basically
exactly
the worst kind. Okay. So Aston Martin. The entire. By the way, so the latest report says that they might run on Friday. That's it.
Hope or cope? That's the real question, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the bigger worry is that they are not even running, and the biggest performance differential is going to be the power unit. And with Aston Martin not running, that continues to be a big question mark, and I'm not entirely confident that that's the right approach.
I think with Honda specifically, like especially, like I know they're not technically a new manufacturer, but they did kind of have to rebuild again after the Red Bull thing and so on. So like I know they had IP for the V6 that Red Bull would have had to basically start from scratch on, even though I'm sure they cut a few Hondas open to find out what was going on, etc. But I thought Honda would have at the very least, because like the reasoning behind this of like we're gonna push to try and bring like the most performative car to the first day is what is coming out now. That made sense, but like I think when we're talking about McLaren doing that, one, McLaren have the track record already, but two, they're also bringing the Mercedes engine, so they don't really have to worry about the engine side as much. I thought with Aston, you're like, okay, if you're in that situation, you can bring your most performative thing to Thursday and Friday, but maybe do a Monday run in like an old spec, like take some of the parts you built for like an old spec one and just do 100 laps of like a mule car essentially with the engine.
So that the Honda
putting a lot of because you're putting a lot of faith in dynos then, which is a little bit concerning.
Not ideal in any which way.
Yeah.
And okay, just explaining in case viewers don't know what happened with Honda. So Honda, first of all, they announced that they were going to leave at the end of 2021. So once they announced this, RBPT was formed, the Red Bull powertrain was formed. Honda was essentially sourcing them, the Honda power units. They were being batched as the Red Bull powertrain and being used in 2022. And during this time, the Honda facility, I think it was in Sakura, which was completely dismantled.
No?
Sakura. Suzuka is their circuit.
Oh, is the track. Yeah.
So the entire facility that they had, where they were building the power units, they dismantled it, and the people were completely dispersed in different departments. At the end of 2022, they announced that they were coming back. So they essentially had 1 year lag when it comes to building the power units. So since 2023, they've rebuilt the facility, they've rehired the people. And all of that is fine. Again, they can do that. The engineering know-how will still be there. But the problem is they have a 1 year lag compared to everyone else. And that is essentially where they were on a bit of a back foot when compared to everyone else. Yeah. And still they've admitted that they are behind when it comes to the internal combustion engine.
Yeah.
They should be running. I think they should be running. And there's a lot of effort has been put into how Newey wants to go about things. But there's a basic foundation here. The 2026 season is not going to be won by who has the best car. Essentially, it's going to be won by who has the best power unit. And then you get into the other part.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously who has the best power unit, and then the difference will be the aero between the customer engines for the most part. I think Newey, in terms of like the explanation that came out of like he wants to bring the best possible car, like that kind of makes, again, as we just said about McLaren, that makes sense. But the point is, as I guess I'm just saying again, is like, unlike McLaren, you've got an untested engine, so it's not like you have a customer team running around. Like even with Ferrari could show up late knowing that their customer teams were testing the engine, so it's not like they still get data from that. They can still like plan everything out.
Even
whereas
though
Honda
they
doesn't
didn't
have
run on Monday, it was a positive day for Ferrari, right? And that's exactly how the whole thing works.
And Honda don't have that, so I don't think. The thing that I have confidence in for Aston is like I don't think Aston's going to show up with a title winning car this season. As much as it would be interesting to see Alonso win, but I do think like I was saying earlier about Red Bull, I think they'll have inverse seasons. Basically, I think it's going to be like
my worry is they are
Aston start
handicapping
on the back
Honda a bit too much, and I don't think that's the right thing
Sure,
they should be
but
doing.
I still think that the direction of the two teams will be completely opposite. I think Aston and Honda will come in on the back foot and slowly like fix itself, because I do have a lot of faith in Newey to like figure out the issues and those processes. I think Andy Cowell, as much as he probably doesn't like his demotion, is in a place that can be really, really helpful to Honda and
He's
Aston.
more or less on his way out from Aston.
Sure, yeah. But if he can help for this season, like just integrating the power unit in the car and so on, and helping the power unit team like know where to go next, that would be amazing. So I have a feeling it's going to be like Red Bull start really high up, and by the end of the season, like Aston is starting to cross them, you know, in terms of development and so on. But I do think it's going to be a tricky start for Aston, and I think that was inevitable, right? Because they've had all the ingredients being built up, but like you still need to put all that together. And like Newey came in April. He wasn't going to be able to do that overnight. And I think him coming to team principal...
in January, right?
He joined the team officially in April. It was March or April. So he didn't actually... because he was
January.
I don't think so. I'll find out now. Pretty sure.
No, you're right. You're right.
Let me just double check, but I'm pretty sure. March 1st, sorry, my bad. That's when he started.
You're right.
So, but yeah, like it wasn't super late. Like obviously, you know, still enough time to have some, but like you're still talking, like the problem with Formula One is like, it isn't just a case of like Newey comes in and all of a sudden the team like is right away working, you know. First of all, he has to come in, he has to change processes, he has to figure out where the issues are, he has to figure out like what needs to be updated, then he has to implement all that. And at the same time you're doing that, Red Bull, as I said, might be kind of on a downward trend, but they've already got all of that sauce working. You know what I mean? So that's all fine. McLaren already has all of that firing on every level because they've just built a title-winning car. Mercedes, in terms of engine, already have all of that working. The question is, have they fixed their aero department from the last few years? Whereas Aston, they don't have any of that working. So they've had to like get all that put together. And that just doesn't happen in... It doesn't happen in 6 months in Formula One. It happens in a year, 2 years, 3 years. You know, it takes
My
time.
worry is that the approach is wrong in terms of what should be given priority in terms of performance, and I think it should be the power unit. If you're entering a season with your power unit on the back foot, you're going to struggle a lot more because you'll have concerns with the reliability, with the engine lasting the entire race, and that ultimately hampers how much the car can run on track. So have to be very careful when it comes to this. He knows best.
It all speaks to me though of like, I think Newey being put in as team principal was the right decision, but I think it was done because of problems in the background. I basically think Newey kept going in and doing what he did at Red Bull when they took over from Jaguar that he's talked about, where he went in and there was people going like, no, like we do it this way here, and that kind of thing that goes on in an F.
You know who was
especially
that
amongst
people?
Especially among engineers. Probably Andy Cowell was one of them. Dan Fallows.
No, in Red Bull.
Oh, in Jaguar. In Red Bull. Who was it?
Guess. Take a guess.
Off the top of my head. Oh, right. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, he was technical lead, wasn't he, before he came
technical
in?
Technical director at Jaguar, and then Newey came in and he was out.
I basically wouldn't be surprised if Newey was essentially looking at issues and going, right, the only way I'm going to be able to fix this in time to have any help with the 2026 season is if you basically give me unlimited call, essentially make me team principal, where I can just walk in and do a Steve Jobs of like being in the elevator and going, what do you do here? Oh, interesting. Get the fuck out. You know, like that kind of level of control. And you can only have that if you were like the top dog at the team, basically. And I think that's why I think it's still been talked about as like an interim process. Like I wouldn't be surprised if in a year's time Newey is back to being like chief technical officer. And it's
I don't think he'll be there, and I don't think he'll be in that role for a year as team principal.
Maybe not. It'll be quicker.
Put someone in.
Yeah.
They should,
but I think
if it's sensible, they should put someone else in, because you're bastardizing.
He's not. He shouldn't be in that position, and I don't think he wants specifically to be in that position, which is why I think it makes it, if that's the reason, it makes sense to me. But it does talk to a team that like isn't going to be at its best level in 2026, because you only put him in that position if there's like, okay, there is a lot of shit that needs to be fixed here, and we need someone who can make those decisions quickly. And the person who knows enough about a Formula One team to be able to make those decisions quickly is Adrian Newey, because you only put Adrian Newey in that position if car performance is your key problem. Like if your car is like on track to be a very, very good car and the engine's all fine and your key issues are like drivers and strategic management of races, you don't put Newey in that position.
Newey in that position, yeah.
You put Newey in that position because you're like, okay, the car is not where it needs to be. So, okay, let's put him in that position. He fixes it. Ideally, that's what fucking Ferrari should have done. They should have, like, Mattia jump into this position until our car is where it needs to be. And then we'll get, like, a Fred Vasseur type to come in and run as CEO. That's what Ferrari should have done, in my opinion. Because Mattia was a very good technical boss. But he was a terrible team principal.
But he was the one responsible behind Arriva Bene being fired, right? He led the coup, essentially. Yeah.
They should put Donald Trump in charge. Anyway, I was in
Ferrari. What could go wrong? Honestly,
how much more? Probably go better. Although I've been told not to make political jokes on this podcast by one of the commenters. And my response to you is fuck off. It's my podcast.
So
our podcast. Sorry. You know what I meant.
I hadn't even thought about it, but but now I'm thinking.
I got a few comments on Wheel Sports a few weeks back when I said something at the start of the podcast, and then I said, and a lot of you won't like that, but it's my podcast, and I'll say whatever the fuck I want. And the comments were like, I love that.
I just hope the team doesn't implode. I just hope they don't start a season where they're P7, P8 or something. Because if they do that, Lawrence Stroll is also not the patient type, right? So that would be where things can go wrong. Things can go south very quickly. I just hope they don't reach that point.
The only reason I think
Alonso won't stay if it is P7, P8.
No, the only reason I don't think it'll go down that direction is I think that like Newey at very base level is the ultimate pragmatist. Like, you know, like he has
essentially it's Honda. But they're not given the
But my point is like Lawrence Stroll and everyone, like Newey will inform them straight away of where the issue is, and I think he'll tell them at a base level what the expectations are and so on. So that's why I don't think it's like a Ferrari situation where they show up P8 and it's like panic stations. I think they show up P8. Newey has basically told them, we could be P9 or P10 here. Like, this is a bad situation and you're going to need to give me a year to fix this. And I think like if Newey tells you that, you basically go, well, I mean, that's what it is then. Like replacing Newey's not going to fix this situation. You know what I mean? So like, I think Lawrence Stroll knows that, and I think that's why he gave him control. Was like, okay, whatever we come out as is what we can do.
Well, right? Because Newey as team leader, he's never been a team leader, so how it works out or not, we'll see. Because it's alien to him as well. There are a lot of roles that team principal has to take care of.
Which is why I said what I said, which is I really think this is, until the car performance is fixed, this is an interim position. Like, you know, the moment the car is good enough to start, like, okay, we now have a car that can start pushing for podiums and wins. I would expect very quickly for Newey to be like, right, now let's put a person in charge who can deal with this stuff so I can go back to just keeping the car performance
I can
going
stay the fuck away from the media, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
Speaking of staying the fuck away from the media, Williams not showing up at all.
Jesus Christ. And here we were you know, thinking about creating a merchandise with "In James Vowles We Trust," and
but we can still do it. I would like to toot my own horn though. Called it.
You did. Let's see though. I'm apparently they are not only over it.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I don't think it's the end of the world though. Like I think they'll still have a decent
lot of
season.
people are, and I hate the short-sightedness of sports fans in general. Recently I've started following other sports as well, and the kind of short-sightedness you see where it's 2 bad games and you should be thrown out. That kind of approach, it seems to be creeping into Formula 1 as well.
In fairness, though, 2 bad games in cricket is 17 months. So that's
17 what? Months.
Yeah.
No, the game lasts
what, 6 years? Something
3
like
hours.
That. I've been to a cricket game. It didn't feel like 3 hours. It felt a lot longer.
Cricket is basically baseball, but more civilized, more nuanced, more skill.
It's still an excuse to drink, basically. Yeah.
There's always an excuse to drink, right?
Yeah. But baseball is just a drinking session with some sport
baseball
in the
is
center of it.
basically an Americanized version of cricket where they've taken all nuance, all skill and everything out of it, made it barbaric, and that's America.
Well, I'd just like to say before our American listeners leave, please do subscribe. Williams are. Williams, they're supposed to be 20 kilos overweight now after
Apparently,
increasing the structure.
Subscribe to that notion. But again, I think it's still 45
days.
It's too
simplistic.
Yeah. Let's see what happens with them. I do think it's a bit early.
Someone said that he doesn't think. I can't remember who it was I saw. Maybe it was James Vels himself, but I know there was at least one or two high up people in F1 who basically said they don't see any team hitting the minimum weight this year, which is interesting. Was it Toto who said that?
Yeah.
See, that's quite worrying, isn't it? Because Audi and Alpine are saying
Audi
there's word out there that they've
Alpine, Ferrari is at 770. We don't know where Red Bull stands.
So you've got Toto Wolff coming out and being like, yeah, we're going to fucking kill everyone this year. By the way, no one's going to hit the weight target this year. Those are two very opposing ideas.
Yeah.
So exactly. Okay.
Let's see, because again, even in the ground effect era, the Red Bull was 10 to 12 kgs overweight at the start of the year in 2022. And Ferrari essentially gained a lot by having a lighter car, more agile. Sauber as well. Sauber basically made its season through the whole.
And that's why it wouldn't surprise me if Audi did hit the weight, because Audi is just Sauber. So,
yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Again, it's not a good news. They should have. Ideally, they were the first team to switch focus to 2026, right? He quite fashionably said on 1 January 2025 we start work on 2026, and the way, at least the news and expectations that have come out, they're not good. But again, until the car has run on track, you don't really know how good or bad it is.
I think this will be a team, though, that I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big leap in performance from them over the course of the season, because it does sound like a team that went to the upper limits of pushing what their team was capable of to build the chassis, because you're probably talking about a team not only push for performance, then push to get to the minimum weight, and maybe they just went a little bit too far, and that's why you get those structural, it collapsed under the crash. So it's okay, now we need to make it more rigid, but we've got a good car philosophy, a good development philosophy underneath. So now if we start stripping that weight off and getting back towards that limit, then you could see it increase. So that's why I'm not, and also they have the Mercedes engine. So that's why I'm not thinking this is done for them. But this is exactly kind of what I was expecting from a team like Williams. I think everyone
see these things, right?
Everyone just thinks it's going to be this constant performance arc.
It doesn't go like
this. It never is.
You're not going to have wins every fucking season. And there was this funny thing by I'm assuming a Verstappen fan on Instagram. Actually, I posted the reel specifically talking about how Red Bull's performance, they should thank Christian Horner for it. And the comment was, he was the reason why Max didn't win in 2025. And I was itching to say that, okay, is Horner the reason why he won the previous 4 championships then? There's no point. It's very, very, the successes don't matter, the failures, they just, you can't have any failures. And Formula 1 doesn't work like that. 90% of the time you're failing. Essentially you're failing, right? And you're going to have a very small window where you're winning everything. And it takes a lot of time for you to reach there. I think that's also the beauty of it, honestly. Mm-hmm. And for them, I think the best example is McLaren. 2022, they took a bad step. They were finished behind Alpine, and that's a bad thing to happen to any team, right? That's a traumatic experience. So it happened to McLaren, and then they decided never again. They should never finish behind Alpine. And ultimately, just look where they were. In 2023, they made a step. In 2024, they won. And in 2025, they won both the championships. And that's just how progression happens. You have to give them time. Let's see what happens with them. Plus, just missing a test alone, it's not the end of the day. Because for Williams, unlike Aston Martin, for them, the problem is, or the lack of problem is, they don't have to worry about the power unit. There are multiple teams there who've done the thing, and the power unit is fine. They can focus on the car, and that should be a good thing for them, right? So let's see what happens. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. I think we've gone through the entire list, right? Is there anything left?
Horner to buy into Alpine, but that's not news. We'll talk about this.
No. Actually, let's just jump into it a bit, because I was analyzing it a little. I think this might be there are too many hoops that Horner would have to jump to take this team to a place where it can be something that Red Bull was. What do you think, right? Because I'll share my opinion later.
Yeah, I think the problem that he's going to have is like if he buys that 24% that is currently Otro Capital, I think it's called.
Yeah.
That doesn't give him any like controlling say in the company basically. So he's going to essentially have to take that and convince Renault to give him like more control of the team basically. So like it would give him ownership of the team but not control, because that is kind of very much a silent partner at the moment in the company. So there's a reason it's 24% as well, I think, too, because I think you have to have more than 24% in EU law for you to have like any control.
More than 25% for you to have any authority on the board.
I actually think it's 26. I think there's like a real specific number. You would think it's like 25, but if I remember from running companies in Ireland, I think it was 26. It's some weird number anyway, because I remember it being like, why is it not 25? Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, more than a quarter apparently.
Yeah. Maybe that's why it's 26. Maybe it's like it has to be 1% more than a quarter or something like that. Yeah. But I know it's something around that point. So he would have to get Renault to give him control. Now, I personally think like Renault would be silly not to kind of go, fine. Like, you know what I mean? Great. Like, come on in. But Renault has made silly mistakes always. So, yeah, I'm not so sure. And they're French, yeah. Like, I really think the only way he comes in and actually makes that purchase is if he has some sort of guarantees that he's going to be able to come in as like team principal or like run the team in some way. And I don't know if Renault is willing to do that yet, but they should be. So I'm not really sure what Renault's end game is here in this team, to be perfectly honest, because if they don't...
Money.
Yeah, sure. But like if they don't accept it, like they would get more money by saying, right, yeah, buy 24% and here's the keys, like take control. You know, we're just keeping the Alpine badge on there and the Renault badges and stuff. Like essentially we invest less, we do less, and we earn more because Horner will turn the team around quicker than we can. Like you've already gotten rid of the Renault engine, so it's not like you're a big signal for like Renault engines. So I don't know, like it feels like a team that's just up for sale, but they're not quite sure how much they want for it, basically. And then, like, I don't know, it's just a weird
whether
mix.
They want to sell it now because the price is increasing every fucking year, right? That's the problem.
Yeah.
And first of all, Horner and Renault, they don't have a great relationship.
Of course, yeah.
First thing,
that too.
That's the first thing. Secondly, the amount of investment that will need to be put into the team to take it to a point where it can be a front runner, that's a lot. And I don't think Horner alone can just...
See, this is the thing. This is why Renault are going to have to decide like how much they want to step back as well. Because like if Horner comes in and takes control,
my point.
He's then going to need someone else to come in and go like, right, well, we'll buy another 30% of the team and invest $1 billion. And there's your working capital to build the team back out.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it depends.
Far too many.
I think...
Yeah. That's the whole thing. I think
he'll do it though, because I reckon that the only reason you bring Flavio in is to like essentially get the team into that position. And I've been saying for ages. But I've been saying for ages like I thought that too, but then I've also been saying for a while like I wouldn't be surprised if Renault have essentially seen that like, oh wait, we can just do what like, you know, say Ford is going to do with Red Bull, for example, where we have the Renault name and badges and everything and we get like a kickback of profits and so on, but we only own like 45% of the team and we don't have to do any of the work essentially. You know, like
Which
this
is Mercedes is doing right now.
Yeah, like I think that is
Mercedes has 33% only.
Yeah, so like I don't see why an Alpine wouldn't do that. We can keep the Alpine name on the car. It gives us great brand recognition if they start winning races. Like that makes it so much easier to sell their Alpine sports cars. So like, why would you not do that? You know, okay, Horner, come in.
It's smart.
Yeah, that's the biggest.
And Alpine and Renault do not do smart things.
If this was any other team, I would say that's probably where they're going. But you're right. Like with Alpine, well, except for Ferrari. Let's not give Ferrari too much credit on this podcast. Yeah, I don't know. Like. That said, I do think it'll happen because I think between Flavio and Horner, I think they'll figure it out.
Yeah, my worry is if Horner is coming, he's not coming, first of all, without stake and without power. These are the two things that he'll want. And
Which is why I think the 24%'s already been worked out, I reckon. He's already figured that out.
My worry is not the stake that he buys. My worry is that overall relationship. And look, Horner's approach when it comes to Formula One is he wants to win. Renault's approach when it comes to Formula One is it's a marketing exercise. And these are two very
terrible one.
Yeah, and these are two very parallel ideologies, right? And how do they converge? That's the problem. Mercedes, when they brought in Ross Brawn and then consequently Toto Wolff, the thought process was we have to win.
Yeah,
I don't think Renault has that thought process whatsoever because it's a joke. The entire outfit is a joke, and it's been controlled by a brand that I don't think it takes Formula One seriously either. And if that's the way they want to go about it, I don't think Horner and Alpine then end up becoming you can say, a solid long-term partnership. That's the problem. Plus, even not only that, there are other constraints as well. I don't think the power unit thing is an open and shut case, because if Horner joins any team, I don't think there are manufacturers that are going to line up to supply that team. For a very simple reason, because any team Horner joins, he's joining to win. So either Horner would have to implore Renault to restart Viri, or he'll have to bring someone else, some other manufacturer from outside.
Yeah.
And even that is a long-term process.
See, that's I think he will go there, but I think it was always going to be a long-term process though. And I think anyone
in terms of long-term process, as in he would, ideally what he would want is within 3 to 4 years, he's winning. Right? But if there is a new power unit as well in the equation, that stretches it to 6 or 7 years, and I don't think anyone wants to have.
I don't think that will be his ideal thing. I think he'll take customer engines and work on
he will take customer engines, but he won't be supplied the best one, right? He won't be supplied a Mercedes. He won't be supplied.
Well, he'll have to get the Mercedes for the first
Honda.
2 years anyway if he takes him.
Yeah, but
so that's fine.
The first 2 years are useless. Alpine is a midfield team at on a good day, right? But it's when they start. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that's the biggest issue. I think that's something you can work on afterwards. But the biggest issue is like the infrastructure at Enstone is just, it's starting to decay. I think that's the biggest issue more than anything else. Because I think like getting a power unit
by 40% in the last 2 years.
Yeah. Like I think getting a power unit actually, like, I think the thing is in 3 years time, there's going to be Honda, who currently have an exclusive deal with Aston, obviously, but there's like Honda, there's Audi, and there is Ferrari and Mercedes and stuff as well. But like you've got Honda and Audi. Obviously, Red Bull are never going to supply like Horner, and Horner's not going to take that Red Bull engine, I don't think, after what happened. But like if Mercedes cut him, for example, say after the first 2 years, Honda or Audi will have to basically start supplying him. I think Honda first of all, then Audi.
Cadillac and I think like there.
Yeah, and I think in 2 to 3 years, the Honda and Audi powertrains will be like pretty close to the Mercedes. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal. By that point, we're then going into a new regulation
set. But then there's also Cadillac as well, right? The thing is, if there's a power unit that
for the next one.
Yeah. You can't. The thing is, you cannot hope for winning championships by having the worst power unit on the grid, right?
No, of course. Yeah.
That's the problem.
But I think you're not going to get the worst for 2030, say, even if you're a customer, because Cadillac won't have to supply you in 2030. So
it will be second worst in that case.
Yeah, but like under the regulations, it's basically like if you're a new supplier, you don't have to supply a customer, which is why like if Horner took over this year and Mercedes said, right, we're like somehow worked around a loophole to say like we're cutting supply immediately, Honda would be forced to give him an engine because they're technically not a new supplier. Whereas Red Bull and Audi would be like, we're a new supplier, so we don't have to, basically. Yeah. Whereas in 2030, Honda or Red Bull, ironically, would be forced to give him an engine if there was no other supply, basically.
Yeah.
And my point is, I just don't think they'll have the worst engines in 2030 either, So
that's why I always thought that Haas is the best possible option for him. It's more malleable. There's Toyota in the offing. Ultimately build a Toyota brand, and Toyota is excellent in every which way, and the power unit thing will be solved as well. Let's see what happens, because I'm still not sold on Horner to Alpine when you think about it, because if I'm thinking about these things, I'm pretty sure he's also thinking on these lines where he knows the task ahead. He's not going to join a losing cause in any which way because it hurts his legacy.
Yeah. But the question for me is like, if he does, if these rumors are getting closer to him joining, then the real question for me is just like, what does he know that I don't? Like, there obviously is some sort of plan for Alpine to give him more control. There is obviously some sort of plan for Alpine to step out, or for another manufacturer to come in and start building an engine for 2030, for example. Or he's already worked out a deal with Honda or Audi to say, look, supply us with a customer engine in a long-term deal. You know, we have faith you're going to build out this. You know, like, I'm sure if he actually goes ahead with it, there's no way he's gone ahead going, right, I'll put this money in and we'll hope that I can turn Alpine around to this. He's already worked out a deal with Flavio and with Alpine to go, I will take over 33. You'll have your badge like Mercedes until this comes. You know what I mean? Like, Horner has already planned like 10 steps ahead because he's been there and done that. So there's no way he's going to come in and just hope for the best because, you know, I'm sure he's seen how that's gone for other Formula One teams over the years, you know.
Pretty much.
He saw the issues at Red Bull, so I just think he knows. So you're right. Like, if he doesn't go ahead with Alpine, then basically everything you've just said has borne out to be true. That basically he's gone into Alpine with a hope, and Alpine have essentially said, "Oh, we don't want to give you control. Oh no, we're not doing this." And he's gone, "All right, well, that's never going to work for me." But the moment he actually buys in, will just tell me, right, well, he's obviously figured that out, because I just don't think he. Yeah, I think from experience
the
of watching,
is going to be big anyways, right? Either way,
regardless,
whether they agree or not. Because again,
the fact is he's not buying into a top team. Like, even if he buys into Haas, there's still a ton of challenges that he has to, like, Haas basically doesn't have infrastructure without Toyota. So he has to convince Toyota to build X, Y, and Z. Like, it's still years long of a process. He's then like, you know, like,
but Toyota is there to win. That's the thing. Renault is not there to win. That's the philosophy is the main. For me, the philosophy is the issue, and that's the entire thing. Because
for all we know, the Mercedes switch from Flavio was talked about way earlier than we think. You know what I mean? Like, maybe the reason that Flavio
started talking about it as soon as he came.
Yeah. But like, for, you know, that could have all been in place because, like, Flavio's like, right, get a long-term deal, and, you know, we'll get rid of Alpine soon, you know, or Alpine's going to switch back to this, and like, they could be getting another manufacturer in who's going to take over. Like, we just don't know what's going on in the background. But I feel like maybe this is just giving Horner the benefit of the doubt, but I don't think he comes in unless he knows exactly what that plan is.
Exactly. And
his track record is a good one, you know, so he knows what he's doing. So more than I do. So I would assume he has some sort of, if he doesn't, Jesus, I don't know. But like,
how is he going to figure it out? I think that's the whole thing. If he joins Alpine and takes over, my thing would be analyzing how he's got XYZ challenges, how he's going to overcome them. That's the whole battle, right? So
yeah. It'll just be interesting to see what Alpine does, because I think if he comes in, like, if he comes in, he's definitely got a plan. And the question for me will then be, I wonder, are Alpine part of this plan, or are Alpine going to slowly sell to another, you know, like I wouldn't be surprised if Horner comes in and within 6 months we're hearing that, like, Alpine has sold 15% of its shares to Hyundai or something. And then you're like, okay, Horner already had a manufacturer in place who was ready to come in the moment he did.
Another question, you know what I mean? Who do you think leads Hyundai?
Although I would imagine it'd be a Chinese manufacturer, to be perfectly honest with you.
No, wait. If in case it is Hyundai, who do you think leads the Hyundai racing outfit, the entire program?
Oh, Horner, like, definitely.
Right now, who is leading the Hyundai racing outfit? The entire
I don't know. Is it Gunter Steiner?
Cyril Abiteboul.
Oh, yeah. Well, he'll be fired immediately, so that's fine.
Exactly.
I honestly, I think I wouldn't be surprised.
Horner has made enemies whenever it comes to these things.
Yeah. But like, I think the thing is, like, Hyundai, they'll figure that out. I also think it's overblown how much these people hate each other too. Like, I think we've, you know,
they hate each other.
Yeah, but I also think, like, in these situations, like, they figure shit out. When money comes to it, they can just sit down and go, listen, we're both going to earn a lot of money from this, and like, cool, right, let's have a drink and just forget about the past, you know? Like, and people can very quickly forget about things.
Yeah, even the reality is Cyril was also stuck. He was a part of an outfit where he wasn't getting money. So whatever
Yeah.
the fuck he was going to read, it was never going to be enough.
He's also French, and French people are just always angry. But I wouldn't be surprised if, genuinely, I wouldn't be that surprised if Horner comes in and within months we hear of a manufacturer buying an extra piece in Alpine, and that will tell us everything we need to know. Like Alpine's on its way out, and Horner's only come in because Horner's already in bed with whatever manufacturer that is. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a Chinese one. Like, you know, you could have like a massive firm, like, for example, like Isack, they own the MG brand. You could have an MG team, like, because MG obviously has its heritage in England. They just put out their new Roadster last year. You know, that's a big Chinese firm comes in, MG brands it. It seems English when it's not really. You know, that kind of shit could happen very quickly. You know, so
let's see. I mean,
it'll be
as I said,
interesting.
if he comes back with Alpine, it would be worth taking a look at how he figures it out, because he'll have a lot of things on his plate.
If he comes in with Alpine and we find out Isack invested, please clip this, because that's a wild call that I've just made.
Yeah.
And there's no way that's happening, but it would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Take care.